This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition. All right, this morning I've got 2 evaporator coils for this walk-in cooler, and we've got a bunch of refrigerant leaks. We keep having to add gas to the system. So I know that both of these coils have leaks in them, but it doesn't seem like the leaks that we're finding in the coils are big enough to release the amount of refrigerant we're having to add basically every 30 days or however often it is. So I'm here today to kind of really go through the system, climb in the attic with a fine-tooth comb, trying to see if there's any big leaks. It really does help when you understand your restaurants and the piping orientation and stuff, because I know that up on top of this walk-in box there is a suction line, that's where the line set's at, and there's a liquid line solenoid valve up there, and I've had those leak in the past, so I kind of suspect that I need to get up there and investigate the line set up there, and then we're going to go up to the roof. They've got a huge delivery inside here right now, like food everywhere, so I'm going to let them put that away. I'm going to do my work on the roof and up on top of the box right now and see if we can't find any leaks and possibly repair some. All right, we've got a little rack here. This one is just multiplex systems, okay? It's not a parallel rack. So this one compressor controls 2 evaporators in the walk-in cooler. That one compressor controls a single evaporator in the walk-in freezer. That one over there, the beer walk-in 2 evaporators, and then the other compressor on the other side is the cook's drawers, which has 4 or 5 coils in it. So multiplex meaning that singular compressor, multiple circuits downstairs, multiple evaporators, whatever. This one is not running, so we're doing a leak search on the system. Ideally, we want the system running and we want the pressures equalized out. Now, I'm gonna leak check all up here too, but right now, I don't really want to disturb anything. I don't want to put service gauges on this yet because I see like oil right here. It could just be blowback from the gauges. Looks like maybe a little oil right here, but I don't want to disturb it by putting gauges on it right now. Everything's tight. We're gonna leak search up here in a little bit, but for now, I can't have the system running, okay? Ideally, we want to shut the compressor off, and then downstairs, there is a liquid line solenoid valve that is controlled by a temperature controller inside the walk-in box that is independent of this compressor. So if I shut this compressor off 3-phase, don't give it the ability to turn on, and make sure that the temperature controller downstairs is calling, then the liquid line solenoid valve would open up and the pressures would slowly equalize themselves out throughout the system. If I put service gauges on this right now, it's pumped down at the moment. This suction line's probably only gonna have, 8 to 15 PSI of pressure in it because it's satisfied and it's pumped down via the liquid line solenoid valve. So we need that solenoid valve open so that way the pressure from the high side can bleed through the liquid line solenoid valve, come all the way back up to the suction line, but we don't want it running, okay? So we're gonna get inside the control panel over here, and we're gonna find system A, which is the walk-in cooler, which is right here. System A is off. It's a single-phase breaker, which is one thing that I really don't understand. They must have had an issue finding 3-phase and that horsepower of a compressor, because all these racks on the walk-in cooler at this particular chain have a single-phase compressor, but everything else, for the most part, is 3-phase. Silly. But walk-in cooler is turned off, so that way the compressor cannot come on, and we can proceed with leak searching the system. So I'm gonna head downstairs first. All right, this is the access to the walk-in box. You can see we've already got some line sets right here that we're gonna have to look into. But this is all the top of the walk-in box. So that looks like the walk-in freezer right there because the suction line's frosty. So we're gonna go over here, see if we can make our way down and see if we can possibly trace out some problems here. One thing that really is frustrating to me is on the Apple Watch, I constantly set off the dang medical emergency alarm by the way that my arm just turns. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, we need to go all the way down to the other side. It looks like this line set right here is my walk-in box because it's running. And like you can see where it's rubbing against that pipe, that's something we need to check. So we're gonna make our way all the way down there to the walk-in coils. So remember I said knowing your restaurants and where the lines are running, I kind of have an idea. Follow this over. Look at that. Liquid line solenoid valve with oil all around it. So let's have a look at that and get some soap bubbles on it and see what's going on. Anytime you use these, throw something in there so it doesn't burn itself out. It's not currently calling, but if you look right here, sprayed some soap bubbles right there. Look at that. Big old fat refrigerant leak right on that guy. So we need to change out that liquid line solenoid valve. I don't doubt that we need to change the coils, like I said, but I knew that there was a bigger leak because this thing's running out of gas left and right. So all that I did was look for the oil, didn't even have to get my electronic, and got some big blue, sprayed some big blue on it, and it's actually leaking right out the top of this stem right here. So I'm gonna get some information off that valve. We'll put it back together so that way it can run. Traffic was a nightmare today. I had to go to the supply house and get a new solenoid valve because I didn't have that one in my truck. It took me like an hour, like nuts, dude. The supply house is 15 minutes away. But yeah, anyways. So as I was going to get that, I'm thinking through this job, trying to make it more efficient. When I get back, what do I need? Rope. Recovery machine, because we have to recover the charge out of this guy. I guess in theory I could pump it down. Actually, yeah, I can pump it down. So why did I bring my recovery machine up here? Now that I think about it, I don't need to. So yeah, we're just gonna pump it down. What the heck am I thinking? Although it's gonna be a little bit more difficult, but I just gotta fill up the receiver when I'm done. But yeah, okay, so anyways, I try to think things through, but for some reason I had it in my head I had to recover this charge, when in fact I don't, because I can pump it down at the liquid line receiver. So, oh well, I brought this up, but life happens. Just keep thinking through these. As I was talking to you guys, that kind of dawned on me. So we're gonna get over there, but before we do any pumping down, we're gonna make sure the system's running, we're gonna shut it off, and we're gonna leak search the condenser to see those oil spots, see if there's anything else that we can find. So we come over to this guy. It's running right now, it just turned on. So we're gonna turn off the breaker. Now the liquid line solenoid valve downstairs is open, and it should be equalizing out the pressures, and we're gonna do a quick leak search. I know why I brought the recovery machine, because initially I thought that it was gonna be leaking at this dual pressure control. That was in my head for some reason. It may or may not be leaking there, but if it is, then we will need the recovery machine. If not, we'll keep going with just the pump down. But I still don't want to apply gauges yet. I want to leak search the system as it sits right now. So found nothing at the dual pressure control, just running it through the condenser coil real quick, just to make sure. Not really seeing any signs of a potential leak. Using the D-Tech Stratus on this one, so. Alright. Nothing. Alright, so dual pressure control looked good. Receiver looked good. Didn't see any issues down there. It's like something looks like maybe a little oil, but it's not the case. So we're good to proceed with the pump down on this guy. So when we pump it down, then we'll be able to work on everything after the receiver, which is the liquid line solenoid valve, the dryer, sight glass, all that. So we're gonna proceed. Now, this system also has refrigerant leaks down in the evaporators. I've already confirmed that. That is a quote to replace evaporator coils, but I knew that the leaks that I found down in the evaporators they're not repairable because they're in the fin pack, like in the middle of the coil, but they're small. They're just little hits, you know? So it's not enough to be leaking out as much gas as this system took, you know, in a 30-day time period, because we topped off the charge, found a couple leaks, and then we had to come back out again. So we're fixing the major leak. We're still gonna quote new coils, but we're gonna get done with this major leak repair right now. Whenever possible, to extend the life of the service valves, if they have a packing nut right here, you need to loosen that before you actuate the valve. It'll extend the life, make it last a lot longer. When you do that though, you will see minor leaks. If you look right there, you can see bubbles. You can just tighten it up and then proceed from there. So I already loosened this one. So now we've got system pressure. You can see that it's been equalized. So, all right, now we're gonna get ready for the pump down. We're gonna go over and shut down the king valve on the receiver. I loosened the packing, front seat of the king valve. Now we're gonna put the cap on it. The cap is gonna help to prevent any refrigerant from leaking out, which is gonna make our vacuum go a little bit easier. So I did the same for everyone, because like I said, those packing glands can leak. But by putting the cap, we're gonna slow it down. And when we go to pull this vacuum, it's not gonna be a perfect vacuum. This is a functioning system with leaks, but we're fixing one of the major leaks, so. All right, now we're gonna turn the system on, watch it pump down, and Then once the system satisfies, we'll release the low side port so that way it's open to atmosphere. Then we can go downstairs and braze in the valve, and then we'll come back up here and put a sight glass and dryer on this one. When you have a system that you're pumping down, we're stopping the flow out the liquid line receiver, right, out of the king valve. You gotta have high and low pressure on here, because if the system in theory was overcharged, as it's pumping down, you would see the high pressure skyrocket. So you always wanna have low and high on these guys. So it looks like we're just about to satisfy at about 8 PSI, all right? And then now that we've done that, we can go ahead and open this guy. We're gonna vent out the little bit of vapor that's left in the system. That is considered a de minimis loss, because we need to relieve the pressure so we can braze that liquid line solenoid valve downstairs. If we don't relieve the pressure, then something's gotta give, and our braze joint will never take down there, and it'll just be flaring out, flaring out, flaring out. So you gotta relieve the pressure in the system. Now, unfortunately, because this is a pumped down system, there's no real easy way to braze with nitrogen, so it's not gonna be very practical that we do that. So we're just gonna have to go downstairs and sweat in that valve real quick and just deal with it. Okay, I disconnected power to the solenoid. That way we can get in here. I'll kind of bend this out of the way a little bit. Yeah, that guy's leaking good. So anytime you come up into the attic to braze, you need to make sure someone knows you're up here. You've got a plan in case something bad happens. So I've got wet towels in case, you know, there's a flame out or something like that. And just being aware that it can happen is huge. Always be prepared for the worst. Sand everything up really good. Makes all your brazing go that much smoother. I know some people swear that you don't need to braze, or need sand, but be smart about it. Also, this valve that's in here is massively oversized. This is a, at max, 2 horsepower compressor, essentially. This valve is sized for like 4 tons of refrigeration. That's not what we need here. So I went with a smaller valve. I went with an E6 valve, which is just over what the tonnage that we're going to be operating at. So going to be much better. Less potential of weird problems. Gonna slap a solenoid magnet on this guy, and then we're gonna put some heat blocking compound all over the valve to keep it from overheating, potentially. That's the idea, at least. Okay, so that way we can protect the valve from being overheated. Solenoid magnet will allow any pressure to make its way through the valve. Even though we opened it, still want to be cautious. Try to be as ready as possible when I come up here, so that way, you know, we're not, I got some heat blocking pad right there to help prevent stuff from catching on fire. Also got a wet towel right here, just in case. And I got an emergency wet towel right next to that. But yeah, I bring up everything that I know I'm gonna need in hopes that I don't gotta bring my entire bag up here, you know? Look around for fire sprinklers, don't see any problems here. And there potentially could be a flame out here, so you need to be prepared. I could cut the valve out, but I prefer not to. Just gonna unsweat it if I can get it out. I don't want to heat the whole top of the box up and melt stuff, so I'm gonna put that wet towel down so that way I can go this way. Hopefully I can get this out. It does look a little tight in here, so. I might have to go get something to cut this valve out because I don't know if it's going to come out. Let me try one more thing here. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that'll give me enough oomph to be able to pull this out. Okay, came off. So again, we got a little flame out there. That's what you gotta watch out for. Okay. So now we're good. Get that out of the way so it's not melting anything. And we're going to try to set this valve in place if we can get it to thread into here. Let's see if I got enough room here. Yeah, it's a little hot. I need to cool it off a little bit more. Another telemarketer. That one. There's that. And let's see if we can get this in. It's alright. Broke my magnet, but it'll survive. There you go. Perfect. In like flint. Alright, we're ready to braze in. I was able to shove it all together. Got to go in the right direction. Good. Okay. Sure we got good penetration on the braze joint. Alright. Cool it off. Just using oxygen to pre-cool it. Set this guy on there. Let it cool. And then I'll just inspect the braze joint, and then we gotta get upstairs and get that liquid line dryer and sight glass replaced. right, we got the vacuum pump running. It's just pulling on the low side because we're just pulling from a pump down system. So I got the dryer and sight glass all installed. We went ahead and went with the flare dryer, flare sight glass. So that way, and the idea is the next time we have to make a repair on this system, we don't necessarily have to bring our torches up if the leak is downstairs, right? So a little extra work this time to make it easier for the next guy, hoping that it's me, right? So that's all piped in. I ended up having to get a little creative with my benders and the flaring tool and everything to make it work, because this had to come up and over to be able to make the flare that close. But yeah, it all worked out. We swaged it, brazed it, and all is well. So we're gonna go get a heat producing device, check the liquid level of this receiver right here, because we have it marked that on 2021 the liquid level was right here. So we can go ahead and check that since we got the system pumped down right now. The box temp didn't even come up that high. It's only been running for about 10 minutes and it's already satisfied at 35, so that's cool. So like I said, I already know that there's leaks in these coils, and we're gonna talk to them about replacing them because they're 20 years old from 2004. Actually 2003, so like 21 years old. Wait, almost 22 actually now, yeah. So we're just gonna wait for this guy to turn back on, then we're gonna check the liquid level in the receiver, get it up to where it should be, and hopefully be done with this for a bit. All right, last but not least, we're gonna go double check all the connection points, make sure there's no more leaks, at least no more giant leaks. Okay, just double checking this pressure control again, because this was showing like oil, but I don't see anything, so I think it's just spray back from caps not being tightened or things. Over here is where my braze joints were. Here's my flares. Those look good. Dryer looks good. No leaks on this side. Let's go to the other side real quick. I turned off the whole rack for this, so that way we could be 100% sure. Checking this guy, nothing. I did fill up the liquid level to where it should be at that mark now. Everything looks good up here, and I'm not picking up any leaks. So we're good to go up on the roof. Just gonna jump into the attic, double check the solenoid valve real quick, but everything should be good up there. Let's go check. All right, all is looking well. Everything's back on. You can see that giant see-all sight glass makes it really nice. I really love those flare male-female sight glasses coupled right to the dryer. Makes it so nice. Everything else is running. We're good to go. Like I said, we're gonna go down and leak check that solenoid now. All right, I just climbed back up here. Everything looks good, other than just like the little bit of residual oil from the leftover. Waiting for the leak detector to pass its warm-up stage, and then we'll run it over the solenoid real quick. Nothing. Looking good. No other leaks in the area. Nope. All is well. So we've had a service call at this location recently where, like I mentioned in the video, where we had to put gas in it, but we've actually had a couple service calls, and I haven't been out there yet. And I decided today, like, I know that the coils need to be replaced, but I had to go get my eyes on it because I wanted to make sure. Like, it just seemed like the amount of gas that was leaking out, I knew there had to be something else going on, right? And so I went back out today just to verify everything, and I confirmed that the coils do have leaks, but they're very minimal leaks, very small ones. And it's time to change those coils. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with you know, talking to the customer about that. In fact, it's going to be in their best interest when we change those coils, because we are going to change the system over to 448A and, you know, eliminate the 404A debacle that we have. Because in the state of California, we are not allowed to use 404A, virgin 404A for refrigerant anymore. We have to use recovered or recycled 404A that's been through the AHRI process, whatever you want to call it, you know, where they reclaim it and, you know, do all the fancy stuff that they do and charge ridiculous amounts of money for it. So with that being said, since the new law passed in California, we basically have to come up with some alternatives. And
So anyways, long story short, I wanted to go out here, I wanted to slow this leak down. I found that the liquid line solenoid valve, in fact, was leaking, which, you know, I was able to replace the liquid line solenoid valve, put a new filter dryer and sight glass in there, slowed down the leaks dramatically. We still are going to talk to them about replacing the coils, and like I said, when I do that, we'll convert the system up to 448A and get it all back up to, you know, I don't even know what you want to call it, because the changeover to 448A is only going to last for another few years, and then that one's being phased out, and we'll have some other new refrigerant. I mean, you know, it's just basically once you get used to a refrigerant, there's going to be another one coming out. Like, so just get used to change, essentially, right? That's why it's also so very important to understand saturation temperatures versus pressures. You know, we use pressures when we're trying to figure out how to set a pressure control, the cut in and cut out. But as far as the operation of the system, we look at the saturation temperatures typically, the evaporator temperature, the condensing temperature, and you know, once you get used to the temperatures in diagnostics, it makes your job so much easier when you change from different flavors of refrigerant, right? So also in doing so, I just don't go in there and just cookie cutter change valve like for like, right? That solenoid valve looked rather large to me. When I started going through the nomenclature for it, I found out that the solenoid valve that was currently installed on that walk-in cooler, which at the most is going to have 14,000 BTUs running through it. It's got, actually no, I think at the most it's like 18,000 BTUs, whatever it is. It's barely 2 tons of refrigeration, essentially. And what was in there was almost for a 5-ton system. Like, it was huge. So I went ahead and put a more appropriately sized liquid line solenoid valve in there, changed it down to an E6 Sporlan valve, and then I put a new filter dryer on the roof, obviously. And, you know, like I mentioned in the video, I like to go with the flare connections when it comes to the filter dryer and the sight glass, because the thought is that later on down the line, if I have to make another repair, I don't got to take my torches up on the roof. So for instance, when and if we change the evaporator coils, I won't have to go onto the roof with torches. I'll just take a new flared filter dryer up there, right? We've already done the hard work, changing it over to a flare valve. We made it nice and clean, you know, so it just makes it easier for the next guy in hopes that the next guy is me, right? That's the way that I kind of approach these jobs, is just trying to think of the next guy, right? Every time I do one of these jobs, try to make sure that the next guy doesn't have ammunition to talk crap about what I did. You know, just try my best within reason to do things right. Now, I do want to address the evacuation on the system. Because the system has refrigerant leaks, we could not pull a, you know, 300, 200 micron vacuum, because it just wouldn't hold, because there's other leaks in the system. I was able to get the evacuation down into the 800 micron level, and it wasn't holding super well, but it wasn't like climbing like crazy, you know, so I felt comfortable enough letting it go from there. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and quote to replace the evaporator coils too. I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of these videos. I say this all the time, but I do truly appreciate it. You know, people start these videos, the retention rate is not quite, you know, as much as the views, for sure. But the fact that a good majority of you make it to the end, and I can tell from the comments and from the feedback that I get, it's so awesome to know that you guys are just humoring me and listening to me ramble on in these videos, okay? I'm just trying to share the little bit of knowledge that I have. I do not know it all, nor will I ever know it all, but I know that there's some good information that I have, right? And so if I can share those tips and maybe make your job easier, that makes me a happy person, right? If you're interested in supporting this channel, the easiest way to support this channel is literally just watch these videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. You can also support it monetarily by becoming a YouTube channel member, by going to Patreon or PayPal. Now, I want to make something clear. Someone's been popping up in my comments saying that they think that I'm going to a member-only videos. Like, no, that's not the case. If you're a YouTube channel member, it's just a way for you to support the channel. You do get early access to some of the videos, but there's no videos that are specifically for members, okay? As a member, typically, and it's not always, typically as a channel member, you'll get like maybe 24 hours early access to the videos. That's it, okay? It's not like they're behind a paywall or anything like that. I don't have any plans on doing that, okay? I like sharing the videos. I like that you don't have to pay for them. So that's why I say the easiest way to support this channel is just watch the video all the way through. Like, really, that is the easiest way, okay? So You can support it via PayPal, Patreon, or YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes of the video. You can also go to my website, hvacrvideos.com, where we have merchandise such as these hats right here. We have a few t-shirts left, a few sweatshirts left, and plenty of stickers, beanies, all that good stuff. So that's a great way, hvacrvideos.com. And last but not least, you can go to truetech-tools.com if you're looking to purchase any tools. You saw me using the NAVAC flaring tool, the NAVAC swaging tool. I was using my, well, I didn't show it in the video, but you know, a good majority of the tools that I do use, I have picked up from truetech-tools.com. So if you want to go to truetech-tools.com, you can use my affiliate code, big picture, one word. You can get a discount on majority of the items on their website, and then I get a small commission when you do that because it's an affiliate code, okay? So another great way to help support the channel if you're interested in doing so. I really do appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much, and we will catch you on the next one.